The gallows on Kareth Prime. The desert sun of Kareth Prime hung high above the Colosseum, casting a harsh, amber light on the wooden gallows erected at the center of the arena. Thousands of Zentari citizens, gray-skinned, black-eyed, towering beings, filled the tiers of stone seating, murmuring with anticipation. Today, they would witness an execution, not of a warlord or a traitor, but of a human child. Eli Morgan stood barefoot on the platform, chest heaving, his skin marred with bruises and dirt. He was 13 standard years old, stripped to rags, wrists and ankles bound. His lip was split, blood dried down one leg. Still, his eyes were steady, defiant. Commander Vurok, clad in dark Zentari armor, stood beside him. His elongated fingers coiled the noose with mechanical precision. The crowd cheered. Vurok raised a hand, and the arena fell silent. "This human," he announced, voice amplified through a bone-rattling translator, committed sabotage against the Zentari fuel relay, killing 16 soldiers. His actions were not random. They were rebellion, insolence, disease. He turned to Eli, placing the rope around the boy's neck. Eli flinched but didn't speak. "He will hang for the Empire." Vurok reached for the lever. Then the sky broke open. A thunderous crack split the heavens, followed by a streak of silver fire that tore across the atmosphere. Every Zentari in the arena froze. A second boom followed, a pressure wave that knocked dust into the air, causing the crowd to recoil. Overhead, the clouds spiraled outward from a point of impossible brightness. From that point emerged something no Zentari had ever seen uncloaked, an Earth warship. Sleek, predatory, floating with terrifying calm. Its name blazoned across the hull, USS Revenant. On the surface, Vurok narrowed his eyes. Impossible. A voice rang out from every translator implant in the Colosseum. Smooth, clear, human. "This is Captain Lena Grant of the Revenant. You have 2 hours to release the boy and surrender Commander Vurok into human custody." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The crowd murmured in disbelief. Vurok bared his teeth. Empty threats. Humans do not have the strength to challenge the Empire. High above, the Revenant moved slowly into geostationary orbit. Its weapons did not glow. Its hull bore no open bays. It didn't need to show force. It had already arrived. On the gallows, Eli's heart pounded. He had not cried once through the interrogations, the beatings, the trial with no defense. But now he blinked hard. He knew that voice. Captain Grant wasn't just a soldier. She was his sister. Far above, on the bridge of the Revenant, Captain Grant stared at the feed from the planet's surface. Her face was carved from stone, her voice calm. "Status. Tactical systems ready. Target locks established on all Zentari defense points. Countdown at 1 hour, 57 minutes. She nodded. "Begin jamming orbital relays. Black out their sky." She'd waited 2 years for this. The Zentari called their conquest efficient. Logical. They hadn't expected Earth silence to be the gathering of a storm. Today, she would speak in a language the Zentari would understand, precision and fire. On Kareth Prime, panic rippled through the upper ranks. Vurok yanked the noose tighter around Eli's neck, his pride burning hotter than fear. "They will not attack. Not for a child." Eli looked up at him, voice hoarse but steady. "You really don't understand humans." Vurok struck him across the face. "You are prey, and your world will learn humility." Eli spat blood onto the platform. "You've already lost." The boy's words echoed louder than the commander's proclamation had. Because above them, unseen but ever-present, humanity had arrived, not as victims, but as vengeance made flesh. 120 minutes of hell. T-minus 120 minutes. The Zentari thought it was a bluff. After all, humans had always been reactive, slow to act, easy to underestimate. One child? A human child? Worth risking war? Commander Vurok stared up at the ship hanging like a blade above his world. His hands twitched at his sides. His advisors surrounded him now, voices colliding in panic. "We must respond. Send word to the capital. Do we have orbital clearance? Where are our cruisers? Vurock silenced them all with a single raised hand. We wait. If they attack, then we strike. Otherwise, we hold position. He turned his eyes back to the boy. Eli sat in a holding cell beneath the Colosseum now, guarded by two elite Zentari soldiers. He hadn't spoken again. He just watched, waiting. T-minus 110 minutes. Above the planet, the USS Revenant powered its kinetic grid. It made no announcement, no show of force. It simply moved. Inside the operations bay, a technician whispered, "Target locks confirmed on all planetary communications towers. Shall we fire?" Captain Lena Grant stood unmoving on the bridge. "Not yet. Cut their signal feed. Let them scream into silence." A pulse fired from the ship's underbelly. Silent, invisible, instant. Zentari orbital systems collapsed. Planet-wide comms flickered and died. Back on the surface, panic spread like wildfire. Zentari officers barked into dead transmitters. Their sky went dark. No stars. Just the Revenant, unmoving. Then came the sound. A high-pitched hum that grew louder and louder until it felt like the air itself was vibrating. T-minus 95 minutes. The first strike hit with the force of a mountain. A lance of tungsten dropped from orbit, moving at 17,000 kilometers per hour, slammed into the largest Zentari orbital defense tower. There was no explosion, just a flash, then silence. The tower ceased to exist. 5 seconds later, the second impact struck a military launch silo on the other side of the continent. Then a barracks. Then a spaceport. Each had designed not to kill civilians, but to dismantle the Zentari's ability to act. Precision warfare. Human-made. AI-guided. Emotionally fueled. Commander Vurock watched the live feed from his bunker as the surface began to buckle under coordinated orbital pressure. This is madness, hissed one of his advisors. No, Vurock replied quietly. This is vengeance. T-minus 80 minutes. Eli pressed his ear to the floor of his cell. The distant tremors of orbital strikes pulsed through the stone. Dust trickled from the ceiling. Somewhere above, Kareth Prime was screaming. His guards grew nervous, fidgeting at their posts. The door clicked. A silhouette appeared in the frame. Zentari, but different. Smaller frame. Unarmed. A lab coat. "I'm here for the boy," the newcomer said. Her voice wavered, not with fear, but urgency. "You can stay and die with the rest of them, or you can run." The guards drew their weapons. She acted first. From her sleeve, she launched a burst of freezing vapor, pure liquid nitrogen, into one guard's face. His helmet cracked, flesh flash frozen. The second raised his weapon, but Eli moved. He threw his entire weight into the guard's knees, toppling him. The scientist shot him with a stun pistol. As the second body hit the floor, the woman turned to Eli. "We have 10 minutes. Follow me if you want to live." He didn't hesitate. T-minus 60 minutes. Captain Grant received the ping. Neural beacon reactivated. "Eli's moving. That's our window. Deploy Ghostfire team," she ordered. "Bring him home." Across the ship, a dozen sleek drop pods launched silently toward the planet. Each carried one human. Not soldiers. Not infantry. Operatives. Ghostfire operatives. Trained in orbital insertion, planetary infiltration, and political assassination. They weren't here to make a statement. They were here to end things. T-minus 55 minutes. The first Zentari governor died in his sleep. Neural disruptor planted inside his personal AI. The second vanished mid-transport. Her entire convoy dissolved by nanite foam. By the 45th minute, half the Zentari command structure on Kareth Prime had been wiped out. There were no speeches, no demands, just loss. Unseen, surgical, and final. T-minus 30 minutes. Eli and the rogue scientist, Dr. Relea, reached the outer catacombs. Above them, airstrikes cratered the surface. Eli paused. "You knew they'd come," he said. Relea glanced back. "You're not just a child to them. You're a message. A promise." T-minus 20 minutes. The Revenant's hangar opened. Captain Grant stood beside the boarding bay of her personal drop ship. She would retrieve him herself. "Prepare the final sequence," she said. "If they don't surrender by the mark, erased the planet. The countdown continued, and below, every Zentari could feel it. Judgment had come. Mercy protocol denied. T-minus 20 minutes. Kareth Prime was burning. Not with fire, but with fear. From the skies, the USS Revenant had torn through Zentari defenses with surgical detachment. What the Empire thought was a primitive backwater species had, in 2 hours, dismantled their entire planetary defense grid without deploying a single army. But it wasn't over. Not until Eli was back aboard. Not until Vurock paid. Eli and Dr. Relea darted through the broken corridors beneath the arena. The once pristine Zentari halls were cracked and trembling from kinetic shockwaves. Sirens wailed overhead, but they were chaotic and disorganized, signs of a dying infrastructure. How much farther? Eli asked, ducking beneath a fallen beam. Relea, check the datapad. For levels up, there's an extraction signal coming. Your people are on the way. Eli nodded, then froze. He heard boots. Heavy, deliberate. 2 Zentari soldiers turned the corner, rifles raised. Stop! Relea tried to raise her hands, but Eli acted first. He grabbed a rusted support pipe and swung with every ounce of strength left in him. The blow didn't hurt the first soldier, but it distracted him long enough for Relea to fire her last stun charge into the second. The first one turned his weapon toward her and dropped dead from a bullet to the head. A human operative stepped into view, rifle steaming. Target located. He spoke in his mic. Eagle has eyes. I've got the kid. Relea stared at him. You weren't supposed to make contact for another 5 minutes. He shrugged. Orders changed. Captain's coming herself. T-minus 15 minutes. Commander Vurock stood alone in the high observation chamber above the Colosseum. The arena was empty now. No cheering crowds. Just fire trails in the sky and the eerie hum of a foreign warship hovering above their atmosphere. His advisors were gone. His soldiers in hiding were dead. He still refused to kneel. He activated a private uplink. A deep system no human would find. Activate Final Bastion. Target. Human warship. The console buzzed back. Access denied. Bastion control system offline. He slammed his fist on the panel. Then Brimmy the child. No response. Vurock stood in silence. The realization was setting in. He was not in control anymore. T-minus 10 minutes. Captain Lena Grant stood in the belly of her drop ship, helmet in hand, eyes locked on the surface scan. Team 1, confirm extraction route. A voice crackled through her comms. The boy is safe. We're bringing him up to the West Tower for pickup. Opposition minimal. Civilians scattered. Lena exhaled. Understood. Begin ascent. She stepped onto the deployment pad. Her voice dropped low. This part is mine. T-minus 6 minutes. The drop ship descended like a thunderclap, hurling sand and ash into the scorched air. The rooftop doors of the West Tower burst open as Eli and Relea stepped onto the platform, flanked by 2 Ghostfire operatives. Eli looked up, blinking at the silhouette descending from the ship. A moment later, she landed. Tall, armored, rifle on her back. Lena, her helmet retracted, and for the first time in 2 years, Eli saw his sister's face. She looked older, harder, but her eyes, they were the same. He stumbled forward, and she caught him, wrapping her arms around him like the war didn't exist. I knew you'd come, he said, voice cracking. You're my brother, she whispered. Of course I came. T-minus 4 minutes. A warning flashed on the Revenant's HUD. High-energy readings from Central City Core. On the bridge, the AI processed it instantly. Conclusion. Self-destruction protocol detected. Core destabilization in progress. Probability of planetary detonation, 76%. Captain Grant's voice rang out. Abort trigger. Locate source. Prepare. Counterstrike. T-minus 3 minutes. Back in the command tower, Vurock stood over a pulsing energy core. If he couldn't win, he would erase the memory of defeat. He touched the panel. Nothing. He tried again. Suddenly, the screen flickered and then froze. Override confirmed. A new symbol appeared. Human script. Mayor, 7 AI response. Mercy protocol denied. A shimmer passed behind Vurock. Then a blade. One final Ghostfire operative cloaked, emerged from the shadows. "No last words?" the agent asked. Vurok turned slowly. "Your kind will never." The blade ended the sentence. T-minus 0 minutes. The Revenant's voice echoed across Kareth Prime, transmitted through every remaining speaker. "Commander Vurok is dead. The child lives. This planet is now under human jurisdiction. Any resistance will be answered with extinction." The war was over. Not with diplomacy, not with treaties, but with justice, the weight of fire. The smoke over Kareth Prime was already beginning to thin when the USS Revenant completed its orbital sweep. The fires had burned themselves out. What remained of the Zentari regime, its military, government, and infrastructure, lay in ruin. Not because of human rage, because of human resolve. The war hadn't been declared. It hadn't needed to be. A single child's near death had been enough. Eli sat in the medical bay of the Revenant, staring through the observation glass at the dying planet below. His ribs were wrapped, his wounds dressed, but his mind, his heart, was still cracked. Lena stood nearby, arms crossed. She hadn't left his side since the extraction. "You're safe now," she said. He nodded but didn't smile. "There were others, Lena. Kids like me, that didn't make it." She sat beside him. "I know." The silence stretched. Machines hummed. "I thought no one would come," Eli finally whispered. "That Earth forgot about us." Lena shook her head. "Earth remembers everything. Sometimes too much." He looked up. "Did we just destroy a planet?" She met his eyes. "We destroyed an empire's pride. Kareth Prime will live, but its chains won't." Eli exhaled. He wasn't sure if he felt relief, or just the absence of terror. Elsewhere on the ship, in the command briefing room, the Revenant's senior officers reviewed final reports. Orbital dominance sustained. No surviving Zentari leadership within 400 kilometers of the capital. Civilian unrest minimal. Zentari population appears confused, not combative. Ghost fire units have extracted all known human detainees. Debrief in progress. Captain Grant leaned forward over the display table. "Good. We leave behind no ghosts." "Ma'am," said the chief intel officer, "High Command is requesting full documentation. They're expecting backlash. This operation wasn't sanctioned." Lena gave a faint smile. It was justified. Silence. No one argued. Because they'd seen it. The gallows. The rope. The child. And the arrogance of a species that thought humans would suffer quietly. Back on the planet's surface, the Zentari watched the sky. The monstrous warship still loomed, motionless but omnipresent. The empire they'd served was gone. Their commands had fallen silent. The streets, once filled with ritual and order, were empty. In its place, loudspeakers spoke in translated tones, calm, firm, unmistakable. "You are no longer under the Zentari Empire. You are under temporary human defense oversight. There will be no retaliation. There will be no purging. But there will be consequences. Kareth Prime will learn what justice feels like." Many of the Zentari wept, not in sorrow, but in shock. No invasion, no genocide, just authority that didn't flinch. Humanity had brought something worse than wrath. They had brought memory. In orbit, Eli stood beside his sister once more, this time on the bridge. She let him wear a service jacket. It drowned him, but he wore it with pride. "What now?" he asked. She looked down at the blue and gold glow beneath them. "We send a message." He frowned. "To the Zentari?" "No," she said. "To everyone." She nodded to the comms officer. A beacon was launched, a shimmering pulse broadcast across known space. It carried one image, a boy, shackled, standing defiant. Then a fleet. Then silence. The transmission closed with 7 words. "You do not touch what is ours." 3 days later, Earth Council convened behind closed doors. Debate raged. She acted without authorization. She prevented another war. She destroyed a strategic trade partner. She saved a child. That was the mission. And in the end, the Council voted. Captain Grant retained her command. The Revenant remained in orbit. And across colonized space, a ripple passed through the species who once viewed humans as naive, fragile, or weak. They began to revise their doctrines, quietly, cautiously, because now they understood what humanity's real weapon was. Memory, loyalty, and the promise that vengeance would always come, whether in 2 weeks or 2 hours. In the quiet of the observation deck, Eli stared at the stars. The bruises were fading, but the fire inside him remained. He was no longer just a boy who survived. He was a message. And out there, someone was listening,